Author is funded by the Pacific Northwest Writers Association, supporting writers from pen to publication since 1955. To learn more about the PNWA and their yearly conference, please go to pnwa.org. Hi, this is Bill Kenower of Author Magazine, and I'm here at the Pacific Northwest Writers Association Writers Cottage in Issaquah, Washington, with Carew Papritz, author of The Legacy Letters. Carew, welcome to Author.
Bill, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
You know, I've always thought of stories, poems, essays as essentially a question being asked and then answered. Mm-hmm. So every story has one central question to it. Will the guy get the girl? Will the person be safe? What do you think is the central question of The Legacy Letters? If you had to find one, what is the question that moves it forward? Why are we here?
That's great. I'll take that question.
Is it? Do you I'm throwing it out there, but what is that? You think is that not leading you, I hope?
No, that was a great leading question, because that is essentially it. We're all asking that question, why we're here, why, right. What's our purpose in life? And this man is saying, my purpose is, I am dying, I'm going to leave the legacy of my opinions and thoughts about everything in life, from everything from how to buy a used car, to how to be married, how to be in love, how to look at the sky, how to read poems, and all of these things. He says, I have to give this away as my legacy, so I'm worth something at the end.
Right.
You know, and I guess that is the fundamental question, isn't it?
And he's giving it to the children he won't meet.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't know their names.
He doesn't even know their names.
Doesn't even know their names.
But he knows they're going to be alive.
Yeah.
And he knows he's responsible for them being in this world.
Yeah, heady stuff. Fascinating part about this is I always thought that the way that was set up, the tragedy behind the separation of the husband and wife, was going to be a real problem in the narrative. And yet, when I would ask women, I would say specifically, do you have a problem with this? And to a woman, actually one woman, she summed it up, she said, we own tragedy. And I thought, wow.
We as in women own tragedy.
Right. So we have no problem with this. The only people that have a problem with it are men.
The men had trouble with it because they felt you were not doing your duty.
Right.
Like you, the narrator, was
right.
not doing his duty.
Yeah. Fascinating.
I would not have predicted that.
No, I didn't either. And I was scared to death almost. I was going to do some other fantastical, good-feeling ending. And no, this really has set it on the course of getting people to ask that question.
So you left Hollywood. Mm-hmm. You were out working as a cowboy, essentially, in the middle of nowhere-ish, compared to Los Angeles. Right. Not sure there's any nowhere in America, but you were close.
Yeah.
And that's when you finally began to write. And did you know when you began writing it that it was this, or did you just start writing your thoughts down and say, what will this become? How did it begin?
No, there was that moment. There was the epiphany. And I remember it was specifically, I was going through Moab, was out in a snowstorm hiking, and all of a sudden the clouds parted, and yes, I did. No, I could hear the voices, and they, whoa, write this. And but no, it's, you need to do this. And, really?
This meaning this should be this guy, the story occurred to you.
Yes,
okay.
the basic idea of a father passing on knowledge to his kids. I thought, wow, that sounds really, I'm going to do that. Right. Yeah, and I started writing it. And it was one heck of a write, because I wrote about 150 pages of it thinking, this is brilliant. Oh,
okay.
Like any writer
right.
with this, this is brilliant.
Right.
And so I gathered them all together, and here I am on the grate alone, and I'm reading. So one day I'm going to sit down, and get my little glass of bourbon. I'm going to say, okay, here we go. I'm going to read this now. This is going to get. I read. Oh, this is crap.
But it was all first draft stuff.
Yeah, but it was
pretty rough.
It was wisdom. It was like, you do this. It was finger wagging.
Yeah.
And it wasn't story related to the wisdom. And all of a sudden you go, oh, that's why Aesop fables work. That's why the Bible works. That's why because it's story first. It's around the campfire. Hey, we went into the cave, we fought the bear, and guess what? Don't go into the cave and fight the bear because you're going to lose your leg.
Right.
Story first.
And so you went back and said, let me find a story to put this wisdom into.
Yeah, then they became miniature stories.
Yeah.
Stories and stories and stories that were connected to the wisdom. And then the larger book appeared in a sedimentary fashion. It was almost, what's the Michelangelo thing? about the sculpture.
David.
Yeah,
In fact, he released David from the marble.
Right. Yeah, it was always there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the classic, I think, for any artist.
I think it's true for every artist. Is when you find it, it seems so obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was always there.
Yeah. 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 But the bigger version of this book took 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
10 years to write.
10 years to write and edit. And luckily, my same editor was still alive after 30 years, and it took us about 2 years to edit.
Now, there's wisdom in it, and do you find that I'm sure you had your own wisdom that you had accumulated on your own, that you lived by, but in writing it, did you discover new wisdom? Did you discover new points of view that you hadn't understood, you hadn't clarified yourself until the writing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by that?
I was shocked by what it took to clarify a very simple idea.
Yeah.
Such as there was a letter called "On My Boy Becoming a Man," and it was the only letter that was written after my son was born. You know, right. 97% of the book was written before. And well, this is what it takes to be a man. You know, really? And then you clarify. You take the one kernel, and I thought, you know what? It's important to be a good man. Well, how do you define a good man? And you know, you keep and you can just ad infinitum. So at a certain point, then you have to rein it back in, clarify, get it down, distilled like some great brandy that you can. That's 10 years in the making, and you sip that and you go, oh, that says everything. And I think that was the part where I was learning how to enunciate wisdom in a way that was very, very difficult. But at the end of the day, I can say, yeah, this is what it is to be a good man.
Yeah, because the wisdom is felt. First, you know it as a felt experience, and then the articulation becomes you learn it again.
Yeah.
Because you know it. Like I know how to behave like a good, but what? And now you have to put it into words.
Oh my gosh, you said it. Felt is the perfect
It's
thing.
all felt.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you take that and go, woo, right
That's
to...
called writing.
Oh God,
that's all there is to it.
Oh, is that what it is?
No, writing is not about what happens. It's about what it feels like when something happens. That's what writing is. It's all a felt experience.
Man, yeah.
So you published this yourself, and you've been on the road and just selling the hell out of this book and doing all this creative marketing. You've gotten on television and radio, and I'm sure, unlike a lot of writers, you've met a lot of the people, a lot more of the people who have read it than other writers might have the opportunity to. But there's still going to be thousands of people you're never going to meet who are going to be affected by this book. Yeah. You're never going to know them, ever. Yeah. And yet, the ripple effect of it is going to go out to them.
Oh God, that's the most extraordinary part.
What do you think of that? It's almost beyond your comprehension.
It is. It is. And it's not heady. I think if I was 20 years old, I would have never read that.
Right.
I would be like, oh, look at me. Oh, I'm the cat's pajama. At this point in my life, it's not even the selling of books that becomes important. It's the interaction. Get to meet these people, and they tell me their stories, and I'm floored. I'm part of humanity at that point. You know, we're back to that.
So, Carew, I would like to ask you one more question, and what I want you to do is finish this sentence for me. You ready?
Oh, really? Okay.
I know you can do it. If writing has taught me anything, it's taught me what?
How to be naked.
How to be naked and comfortable. Well, are you maybe not comfortable? How did it teach you that? How did it teach you that?
Naked. Yeah. I mean, you, in a book like this, where you are opening your soul and your heart, and then you give it to people who say, I can see into you.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Writing taught me how to be naked, and it taught me how to constructively be naked.
Right.
I mean, of all things you want to say, yeah, it's not just going, hey, here I am, la-di-da. It's, the nakedness is in the mechanics, it's in the craft, it's in the making sure that if I'm going to reveal myself honestly, I have to handle these words and be forceful with them, and I have to care for them, and I have to be smart with them, and I have to be ultimately genuine. I have to just care that this is really coming from me going to you. I'm going to make it happen.